When we left school, we didn't have a career path. None of us did. We just sort of went into, found a job, and off we started working. So we didn't have any plans for our future life. And we just all sort of thought of getting married, I suppose, having children, everything, all that kind of stuff, which is what I did. I moved to Kenton-on-Sea, I married, I had 4 children, we stayed in a dairy farm. It was a lovely lifestyle, but it was not that easy as well. Financially, we struggled a little bit. Being on that farm sort of disadvantaged me a little bit because I wasn't working in an official job, and I was always, I started a flea market. I was always trying to make money. I was sewing and I was doing all sorts of things. So moving to Port Elizabeth when I was in my 40s was quite difficult finding a job, actually. And I eventually took a job as a sales rep for Brabies. They sell the advertising on the maps in those days, which was a very good. I hated it. I had to walk from door to door in the industrial area in Port Elizabeth and ask them if they'd like to advertise, in the maps. But it was a very good learning curve because it made me a bit stronger because I was never really into sales or doing anything like that. So that was a good thing for me. But in any event, over those years, I got the odd job. I worked sort of here, there, everywhere, and managed to survive. But it was always a financial struggle. When I was living in Kenton, I also got introduced to network marketing, and I went into it, and it was fantastic for me because number one, the program that they had a book program, so we used to have to read, or we used to get these 2 or 3 books every month, and that was the beginning of everything for me because I started thinking differently, and I think that's the key is your mindset. So I started thinking differently. I started getting more positive. After I'd been in PE for a few years, I was working in a job, and I was also involved in another business, also a product range. It was a nutritional range of products. And the reason I liked nutritional range is because I run. I'm a long-distance marathon runner, so I'm in that field. And I used to sell these products on a part-time basis whilst having a full-time job. I sent my younger son out, Gary, my younger son, and I said to him, listen, go and hand out these flyers at the robot, advertising my nutritional business. And he did that, and Donovan Landon actually picked up one of these flyers, and he phoned me and he said, listen, you're open to looking at something else? I've got, me, of course, I said, yeah, of course. Went to have a look at him, and that was when I went into my previous network marketing business. And what I liked about that business was no products as well, not selling of products. Debit order system was brilliant. So, of course, I was sold on it straight away. I was in the business for about 12 years, actually. It's quite a long time. But what was happening with the business was my income wasn't growing. It got to a stage where it was starting to drop because they had a system where it was what they called year modes in their business. And unfortunately, you had to keep on replacing people all the time. So you replace people to keep your income steady, but then you had to add extra if you wanted it to go up. So it wasn't sustainable. But then one of the people in the business, not in my business, came and showed me the DuePoint business. And when I looked at this, I just thought, this is the answer. This was actually what we'd all been sort of hoping for. We used to complain all the time, and we just thought this is brilliant. And the reasons why it was so brilliant was because it's passive income, true passive income. Yeah. The money's not going to drop after a year. There's no time limits. That's a big thing. In the other business, we had time limits. You could, when you got to a certain number of people in your business, then you would become get to a certain bonus level. Here, it didn't matter how long you took. The competitions, another thing. I mean, I did go on 2 of the trips, but it was a competition, and you had to compete against everybody. When I saw the competitions, me traveling, that was really, I thought, this is fantastic. It's just a matter of time. I'm just get there, okay? So that was another reason. Technology, once again, same thing. We used to say, can't we find something that's more online? We kept it because we used to talk about it all the time. Can't we find something that's more online now? I mean, we've got to join the real world now and get going. And so everything actually fitted all the boxes. Technology, the travel, the money. The money was much greater than what we were earning. The fact that you kept on earning it. And the training, another thing. We didn't have actually very good training. And the fact that the training is all online. Over the years, I've done a lot to survive. I've taken this job, I've been a salesperson, I've done whatever. But I've actually got nowhere. And because I've got 4 children, it's been very expensive actually having 4 children. So any money that you've made over the years has actually gone to those children. So you end up with nothing. And if you're divorced, which I am, you still got nothing. So that's why I always say with this business for me, I always try and say there's so many women in my situation, and there's so many women in the situation where they stick it out in their marriages because of the situation that they don't want to have. They don't want to be stuck without anything. I know that this business is going to get me to the stage where I'm not in that survival mode anymore, because that's the biggest thing, is you don't want to always be surviving. You want to actually start living your life a little bit. You want to start, I want to get that backpack on my shoulders again, actually. I want to go off, if I can go off 2 or 3 times a year and go, I mean, I've got no commitments anymore. My children have all grown up, and it's me and me alone. And I mean, I'm still fit enough to go around and do all my things. Mm-hmm. And also the thing is with running, there are a lot of events that I'd like to run still, which all cost money. So, so my main reason, I would say, for being in this business is to create a passive income for my old age, so that I don't have to sit there and hope my children are going to look after me. That's the one main reason. Also to be financially secure enough to be able to pay for everything, my rent, my car, my this and that, without having to worry about it. So that's it. And then, of course, the travel. I'm definitely going to be traveling soon. I mean, I've Comrades Run, actually I've done 25 of them now, so yes, I've achieved that little goal. In fact, my goal is to try and get to 30, because there's only a few women in South Africa that have actually made it as far as that's concerned. So I am training at the moment, hoping to get there this year. When I first sort of got started with DuePoint, we were still very old-fashioned. And I think it's because I've been in network marketing for 20 years, actually, because I joined network in 1997. So we've always been used to the process, picking up the phone, phoning people, making appointments, meeting them for coffee, that kind of stuff. And I don't mind doing it. I'm quite happy with it. In fact, I don't mind phoning strangers. Cold calling for me is actually fun. And when I first started with the DuePoint business, I carried on along that same way of phoning people, making appointments. And in Naarden, it's quite nice because it's a small little town, so you can just go down the road, there's a coffee shop there, sit there and see people. On the odd occasion, I would get somebody that would say, oh, but I don't want to go and meet people for coffee and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't sort of think too much about it, but recently, in the last, I'd say we've always been dabbling around with the social media, because in my team in Naarden, there are quite a lot of us that are in the older age group. In fact, I would say the majority of my team are actually 50, 60. I've got Elodie who's 80. And I know that market is a good market, because that's the age group where people are starting to get worried. They're starting to think now, how are they going to retire? Even if they're working, or if they just don't have enough money. So we've had to learn. We've had to become a little bit more, Facebook, and we've always been on Facebook and said hello to our friends and that kind of stuff. But we've had to start learning a little bit, and so I think for me that's been the transition, the most difficult thing. Not difficult, but it's been a thing that I've had to try and accept, that I've got to get more online, because it's also duplicatable. And that's my main reason. If I can sort of get a system together where I can just do whatever, somebody else can do it. And then they don't come up with excuses that I can't go and meet people for coffee and I can't phone, because people don't even like to phone these days. I mean, people just on their phone. I mean, it's an unbelievable world that we live in, but people don't use their phones. But so what I'm doing now is I've got a mixture of both. I set my week, like targets, or not targets, activities. And I try to say to everybody in the team, if you can just have daily activities, even if it's 5 people a day that you're connecting, do it, and don't miss a day. And normally when I sign on somebody, I'll say to them, first of all, work out your schedule, work out and include your work, and tell me when you can actually do DuePoint. Is it an hour a day? Is it 2 hours a day? When are you actually going to do DuePoint? And I think that's the most important, is actually working out that schedule first of all. And then I arrange a little startup session. They come and see me, and then I ask them what their goals are, and let's work out according to your schedule what you have to do. And then we've got set daily activities. It's like making phone calls, it's sending voice notes online, it could be doing follow-ups. And so the most important, those are the most important data. And if a person's only got an hour because he works all day, then he can only do 5, for example. But if you've got the whole day, we can do more. And I think that's what I've been trying to, especially in the last few weeks, trying to get the team to just stick to we actually ran a 10-day challenge just 2 weeks ago. And for 10 days, everybody had to do 20 of everything. It was quite a challenge, but then they had to post it every day on the group to say they did their 20. And that worked well because it was just trying to get them into that consistency, because that's what I believe it is. It's not how much you do, it's actually what you do every single day. Because if I had to say to somebody, look, phone 150 people this month, what are they going to say to you? It's far too many. Phone 5 a day, it's the same thing, but it's a small little bit every day. So I found that's the best. So for us, we're learning, you know, we're checking out other things, and we're seeing, okay, this is what we must do, we must have a group, we must do this, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to give up picking up the phone and phoning a few people and meeting them for coffee. Yeah. So it's going to be a mixture of both. I think it's important to have a mixture of both. But you do get people that don't want to see people or talk to people. They just want to do everything online. I go on every day. You have to. I mean, the people and I also check my first pointers to see if they've got any points. And if I can see there's a note there, well, I know they're not going to do anything. And they're not doing. So I do always check. What I often do as well is I send a message to the wealth engineers just to remind them about the presentation that's starting now. You know, that kind of stuff. I try and send a message or two every day to my little wealth engineers group. I've also got a Facebook group. We call it Super Achievers. And I try and post on there. I've still got to learn to post a little bit more often. Because, you know, once again, you know, we're not in the era where we take photographs every 5 seconds. I mean, you know, actually we're uncomfortable having photographs taken. But I know the younger people, they love their photographs. I mean, my daughter's continually taking photographs of herself, you know, so we've got to get used to this engagement, when we're from an era where we were told to sort of stick to ourselves and be humble and, you know, that kind of stuff. So that for me is a transition. I want to try and get a minimum Achievers 10 every single month until the end of the year. I mean, if I could, I'd love to be able to. On Saturday nights, you were talking about Lynette going from rank 3 to rank 9. And, you know, I could actually do it if I really just focus every single month. I think the biggest thing that I've found that one has to be very careful of is getting distracted. And especially family. I've now got my younger daughter living with me. And, you know, she'll say, oh, come on, let's go to the beach and let's do that. And it's different for a man. A man will say, not going to the beach, no, that's it. But women are different. We always feel as if we owe it to our children. We feel guilty if we don't, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's what I've got to learn how to say no. I've got to say, sorry, this time to that time you don't see me. And I think that's the way, you know, we can just sit there and work every day, you know.
Do you want to get to any particular rank?
Yes, I would like to definitely.
Converge?
I definitely would like to be on rank 9 in actual fact. And I'm going to really push for it. I know it sounds like it's you know, but I know there's nothing impossible. And I'm going to go for that. If you know, they always say reach for the stars or whatever, or the moon, you might reach the stars. I mean, I've got a mother who's, you know, I don't want to be in her situation. She's relying on her children now. You know, she's still alive and she's living in George. And I'm not that kind of personality actually anyway, to sit there and, you know, put my hand out or whatever. And I'm just too adventurous actually. We lived in a place called Valbedacht, which was actually close to where the fires were happening. It's as you're going out of Naas on the right-hand side, and there's a lot of you know, trees and all that stuff there. And I was with my older son now, we went to go, because when the fires were happening, I mean, you couldn't even see the heads, that whole area was just covered in, you couldn't see a thing. And I went with my son, drove along the road to go and see if we could go and see his place, because we stayed in like an estate place. You actually couldn't get there. Well, we got there was just fires everywhere. Fires were jumping across the road. And the gas canisters were going up everywhere. It was like really quite a scary thing. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Palm trees were exploding in front of us. It was like unbelievable. And then, of course, we couldn't get to our place. And the amazing thing about it was the house next door to where we were staying burnt down. And our place was okay. So, yeah, it was quite a thing. Everyone had to be evacuated. They all had to go to the waterfront or to Lurie Park. So you saw all these cars, all these people sitting in their cars. But it was terrible actually. I think it's devastated a lot of people that we still don't know what's happened to those people. A lot of people had to leave town. A lot of the houses burnt down. People had rented places that weren't insured, and they had to leave Naasna. And in actual fact, we've forgotten about them, if you know what I mean. They've forgotten. But if you think about it, if your whole house gets destroyed, all your possessions, everything, how do you start again? Some people lost their cars. Their cars were parked in the driveway. Their cars were burnt. So it was quite a thing. And funny enough, I sent a video just a few days ago to somebody who wanted to hear more about the business. And I asked him what he does for a living. And he said, no, he's from Naasna originally. He lives in Fish Hoek. And he lost everything in the fire. 2 years ago now, they're still feeling the effect. No, I think a lot of people were badly affected. Jobs, everything, actually. But it's getting green again now, and people have short memories, so they'll get back to so we're South Africans after all. And that's another thing. There's so many people leaving South Africa, and I just look at it and I think that South Africa is such a beautiful country. We've got a lovely lifestyle, but for us that are staying in this country, we've got to make sure we can live here and afford to live here. And through, I believe DuePoint is actually the best opportunity for us to do that. So so we had to stay. Even though I've got a daughter in New Zealand, but yeah.